What if I told you that right now, as you're watching this video, I'm already using 3 specific psychological techniques to influence your thinking and you haven't even noticed? Don't worry, I'm not trying to manipulate you into buying anything or doing something harmful. Instead, I'm about to reveal the exact same methods that master negotiators, successful leaders, and charismatic individuals use every single day to get people to naturally align with their ideas without anyone feeling pressured or manipulated. By the end of this video, you'll understand the hidden psychology behind genuine influence, and more importantly, you'll know exactly how to apply these techniques in your own life, whether you're trying to convince your boss to give you that promotion, persuade your partner to try that new restaurant, or simply become someone people naturally want to listen to and agree with. But here's what most people get completely wrong about influence. They think it's about being louder, more aggressive, or using fancy manipulation tactics they saw in some movie. The reality is that true influence works in the complete opposite way. It's subtle, respectful, and actually makes the other person feel better about themselves and their decisions. Let me start with the first technique, and this one is so powerful that once you understand it, you'll start noticing it everywhere. It's called the Benjamin Franklin effect, named after one of America's founding fathers who discovered something fascinating about human psychology. Franklin noticed that when someone does you a small favor, they actually like you more afterward, not less. This seems backward, right? You'd think that when you do someone a favor, they should like you more. But Franklin realized that when people do something nice for you, their brain has to justify why they helped you. And the easiest explanation is that they must like you. Here's how you can use this immediately. Instead of trying to do favors for people to win them over, ask them for small, reasonable favors instead. Ask a colleague to explain something they're good at. Request a friend's opinion on a decision you're making. Ask someone to recommend their favorite restaurant or book. When they help you, their subconscious mind strengthens their positive feelings toward you. The key word here is small. Don't ask someone to help you move apartments on your first interaction. Start with something that takes them 30 seconds and makes them feel valued for their knowledge or expertise. Now, the second technique builds on this foundation, and it's called mirroring, but not in the way most people think. Everyone's heard about copying someone's body language, but that's amateur hour, and people can sense when you're being fake. Real mirroring goes much deeper. Professional negotiators and therapists use something called emotional mirroring. They reflect back the emotional tone and energy level of the person they're speaking with, but they do it gradually and authentically. If someone is excited about something, you match their enthusiasm. If they're concerned about a problem, you acknowledge that concern with appropriate seriousness. But here's the advanced part that most people miss. After you've matched their emotional state, you can gradually shift your own tone in the direction you want the conversation to go, and they'll often follow your lead subconsciously. If someone is angry or frustrated, you start by acknowledging their frustration with matching intensity, then slowly become calmer and more solution-focused. They'll usually follow your emotional journey. The third technique is perhaps the most powerful, and it's something I call strategic agreement. Most people think that to be influential, they need to argue their point until the other person gives in. But master influencers do something completely different. They find ways to genuinely agree with the other person first, even if they ultimately want them to reach a different conclusion. This isn't about being fake or agreeing with everything someone says. It's about finding the kernel of truth in their position and acknowledging it before introducing your perspective. When someone feels heard and validated, their defensiveness drops, and they become much more open to considering alternative viewpoints. For example, if someone says they don't want to try a new restaurant because they're worried about the cost, don't immediately argue that it's not expensive. Instead, say something like, "I totally understand wanting to be mindful about spending, especially these days. What if we looked at some options that might give us a great experience without breaking the bank?" Now let me share a technique that's incredibly powerful, but requires some practice. It's called the presumptive close, and salespeople have used variations of this for decades. But you can apply it in everyday situations to make your suggestions feel like natural next steps rather than requests. Instead of asking, "Do you want to grab coffee sometime?" you say, "When would be a good time for us to grab coffee this week?" Instead of, "Will you help me with this project?" you say, "What would be the best way for you to help me tackle this project?" You're not being pushy. You're simply framing the conversation around how something will happen rather than if it will happen. The psychology behind this is that people's brains automatically start problem solving when presented with a how or when question, which mentally moves them past the decision of whether to do something and into planning how to do it. Here's another technique that builds incredible rapport and makes people feel genuinely valued. It's called the callback method. Throughout your conversations, remember specific details that people share with you, especially things that matter to them personally. Then, bring these details up in future interactions. If someone mentions they're training for a marathon, ask about their progress the next time you see them. If they mentioned a challenge at work, follow up on how it turned out. This shows that you're not just waiting for your turn to talk, you're actually listening and caring about their life. The psychological impact of this is enormous. Most people feel like they're not really being heard in their daily interactions. When you demonstrate that you remember and care about what they've shared, you immediately stand out as someone who makes them feel valued. But here's what ties all of these techniques together, and this is crucial. They only work when they come from a place of genuine interest in the other person's well-being. If you try to use these methods purely to get what you want, without caring about the other person's needs and interests, people will sense the manipulation, and it will backfire. The most influential people understand that the best outcomes happen when everyone involved feels good about the result. They're not trying to trick people into doing things against their own interests. They're finding ways to align mutual interests and make collaboration feel natural and beneficial for everyone. Think about someone in your life who you naturally want to help and agree with. I bet they demonstrate many of these qualities. They remember what matters to you. They make you feel heard. They ask for your input and opinions. And when they suggest something, it feels like a natural next step rather than pressure. Here's your challenge for this week. Pick one person in your life where you'd like to build better rapport or influence a positive outcome. Maybe it's a coworker, a family member, or someone you're hoping to develop a better relationship with. Choose just one of the techniques I've shared today and practice it consistently in your interactions with that person. Pay attention to how they respond differently when you ask for their small favors. Mirror their emotional energy. Find genuine points of agreement, or remember details from your previous conversations. I think you'll be surprised at how much more receptive and positive they become. The secret to influence isn't about becoming a master manipulator. It's about becoming someone who makes others feel valued, heard, and understood. When you master that, people don't just agree with you because they have to. They want to, because being around you feels good, and your ideas make sense within the context of caring about their well-being too.